Hey everybody, welcome back. Taking a look at RoboCop 2 Collector's Edition. This is the 4K release and Blu-ray. It's a shot release, I think. No Scream. Maybe Scream's... No, Scream's not shot. This is the Scream thing. And... see, we have here... You see that? That's not too bad. So, RoboCop is back to protect the innocent. There he is there. Battle action. Battle damaged RoboCop. Peter Weller, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension, also RoboCop, returns as the toughest steel police officer, once known as Alex Murphy, in the high-octane sci-fi action sequel RoboCop 2. When Detroit's descent into chaos is further compounded by a police department strike and a new designer drug called Nuke, only RoboCop, Peter Weller, can stop the mayhem. But in his way are a sinister corporation and a bigger and tougher cyborg with a deadly directive: take RoboCop off the streets permanently. I don't think that's the directive, for RoboCop 2, but that's alright. Featuring Nancy Allen. Nancy Allen plays Murphy from the original. In the original, excuse me, and she carries that role into the sequel here. She also co-starred in Carrie, and Carrie's a Brian De Palma film, and she and Brian De Palma, I think they were married early on in his career, but she's also in what's the Dress to Kill, and I do like her in Dress to Kill. I like her in the first RoboCop too. I don't like her in this, and I'll get to that later, but Dan O'Hurley, I don't know why I'm struggling with this surname, but he's also in Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and Tom Noonan, Last Action Hero. Tom Noonan's pretty amusing in this. RoboCop 2 boasts a story by acclaimed comic creator Frank Miller, Batman The Dark Knight Returns, and was directed by Irvin Kershner, The Empire Strikes Back. I think this was Irvin Kershner's last movie that he directed anyways. Armed with bonus features and a new 4K transfer, RoboCop 2 is back in action. Your move, creep. So we have a 4K scan from the original camera negative, presented in Dolby Vision, audio commentary with author and CG supervisor Paul Salmon, and audio commentary with the makers of RoboDoc, a creation of RoboCop miniseries. I haven't seen the miniseries. I've unfortunately have seen RoboCop 3, but I haven't seen any of the miniseries. I've seen the reboot, and I thought that was it was better than expected. I went in with low expectations, and I came out pleasantly surprised. And it looks like it has some additional special features here on the Blu-ray. So commentary on the 4K, and then the same commentary for the Blu-ray, and then the Blu-ray of course has the special features here. Oh, this is Shout. Scream. So Scream and Shout, are they the same? Maybe it's like, I'm trying to think of another label, like Shout Select, Scream. Not that important. Here's the spine here, a little blurry, sorry about that. And going back to the cover here. Anything cool on the inside? Yeah, we have different discard, that's not bad. So I have the Blu-ray discard. Doors are for suckers, and we got the 4K discard, which is also the theatrical art for Sound of Fire. And I think this is really good theatrical art. I mean, the original RoboCop movie, that theatrical poster, that's like, to me, an iconic poster. Not just to me, I think like it's an iconic poster, and very difficult to follow that poster up. But I think this is pretty good. I mean, you may not realize it unless you've seen the movie. I'm sure you can certainly see there's a reflection of this RoboCop, perhaps a RoboCop 2, and I just think it's a a subtle touch to the cover where kind of staring down the new adversary here, and once you see the movie, you can easily identify that line of the new RoboCop, and it is truly RoboCop 2. This is back when sequels were numerically distinct, where it wasn't Terminator Judgment Day, it was Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but the new RoboCop in the movie is aptly named RoboCop 2. They refer to him as such, or it as such, I guess. And I thought that was pretty funny. I always find it a little bit of a kick out of a movie that ends up saying the title of the movie at some point. But this movie, it's one of those movies I would consider for fans only. I don't think it's a bad movie, but unless you're a fan of the original RoboCop, and a pretty big fan of that, and interested in more RoboCop adventures, we'll just put it that way, then you'll probably find some enjoyment with RoboCop 2. As a sequel, I don't care for it. For one, RoboCop is one of my favorite movies. It totally holds up. If you haven't seen RoboCop, I should do a video about RoboCop. I could talk for a while about RoboCop. And so a little daunting coming in to make a sequel for RoboCop, not that it can't be done. And even if RoboCop was a bit of a misfire, the sequel ignores the original. Any growth that transpires in RoboCop or the characters is ignored in the sequel. It's really bizarre. So, in one hand, like you could just watch RoboCop 2 and have a clear understanding as to what's going on. I wouldn't say you need to watch RoboCop before you watch RoboCop 2. I just would say you need to, because RoboCop is an incredible movie, and if you were only going to watch one, I would definitely watch the first one. But where Murphy is left at the end of RoboCop, it's not where Murphy begins in RoboCop 2. And it isn't like they try to fill that in with some off-screen shenanigans, kind of like Alien 3, where you're like, okay, it's a little strange to start a movie this way, but I'm down, whatever, let's see what we got. RoboCop 2, it's a little disappointing in that sense, because the expectation you have for Murphy as a character and what RoboCop would be like with Murphy recognizing himself is interesting, and they don't bother doing that here. So RoboCop is almost back to square one in the sense where he is a RoboCop and he has his directives, and he doesn't feel so much as Murphy that happens to be, whatever it is, like 90% Robo. So that is a little disappointing, and as mentioned on the back here, Nancy Allen, her character Murphy, I really like their relationship in the original RoboCop, and she's hardly in this. And again, her character really doesn't grow at all as well. So it's just an odd direction that they went in for the sequel. I can't even remember RoboCop 3. So, kudos to me for, burying that so deep. But RoboCop 2 is still like a watchable movie. It's just disappointing in a sense from a sequel. And it you can kind of tell it's a Frank Miller story, and I think he wrote the screenplay too, right? It's not just his story. He has some assistance with the screenplay, so he has a co-credit here. But it feels like an issue of a comic where there are things happening. Like there's a plot to this movie, but there really isn't much of a story. So it really goes back to, do I want to see RoboCop on an adventure? And that's kind of where I go with this movie. It's more outlandish than the original. It almost starts veering into like just, am I watching like a cartoon here? And so some of the edge is taken off, even though it has like some, I would say, more gruesome scenes. I wouldn't say it's as exceedingly violent as the original RoboCop, but we're talking about a movie that has, a brain floating in a jar, and the eyeballs are floating in the jar as well, and I guess I'm not really describing it very well, but it's just, I assume, an intentionally comic scene involving someone's brain, and we get into like, I don't know, like that Simpsons episode where Mr. Burns puts Homer's brain in a robot body, and things don't go well. So it definitely is more cartoonish, and it doesn't have anything really to say, unlike the first RoboCop. But it does look great. It's really well directed. Like the action scenes are good. The RoboCop 2, he's over-designed, I feel, and I think I read they did that on purpose to like curb like black market toys or something. Like I guess Ed 209, the robot from the first RoboCop's robot adversary, is or was like a popular knockoff toy, and partly due to its simplistic shapes. Yeah, don't quote me on that. But so they went out of their way to make RoboCop 2 a bit more elaborate in its design. But the animation for RoboCop 2 is, significantly, is what came to mind first, significantly better than Ed 209. And Ed 209 was awesome. Like you could walk up to Ed 209, but the scenes where it's like it involves movement, like walking, it's incredible what they were able to do. But the advancement of what they were able to do in the few years between RoboCop and RoboCop 2, you can definitely see it with the animation. The scenes with RoboCop 2 laying waste to a variety of things they're really well done, and it's, if you're into special effects and things like that, I would say it's worth watching for that alone. So definitely one of those movies I'd consider, for fans only. I wouldn't highly recommend this, or even like strongly recommend it to someone that just had a middling interest in RoboCop. But if you're a fan of the series and for whatever reason, like you haven't bothered to watch RoboCop 2, there is some good stuff in here, and I can safely say don't bother with RoboCop 3. I can't tell you why. Again, I don't remember, but I just remember RoboCop 3 being that bad of a movie. So, anyways, thanks for watching.